Hey, good morning, Celebration. I hope you're all doing well this morning. Sorry that we're not able to be together, but you know what? Because of the beauty of technology and the fact that we are still the church, whether we're together or not, we are still able to be together this morning, even though maybe not physically. We are together, and I don't know about you. Um, these past couple weeks, if I could take just one word to describe these past couple weeks, it would be simply crazy. And I think that you'd probably do something similar. I was watching basketball the other night, and all of a sudden they come on in the middle of the game and they say, "Hey, the NBA has decided to just shut down. Like we're not going to play basketball anymore until all this clears." And I was like, "Man, that's crazy." And then schools decided that they were going to shut down, and I thought, "Man, that's crazy." And then you look around and you see there's no hand sanitizer or toilet paper on the shelves, and you just think, that is crazy. But then there are some bigger deals, some bigger things that are going on. Like the fact that there's this sudden feeling of vulnerability as a nation, and it's crazy. And unfortunately, some are dealing with extreme sickness and even loss of life from a virus that we don't yet understand. And that's crazy. But take comfort in this. This isn't crazy or out of control to God. It's not catching him off guard. It's not beyond him, and it does not freak him out. Have you ever been freaked out by a situation, like you were getting ready to go through something and you were just like really freaked out and you didn't know what to do, but there was somebody there with you who maybe has been through it before, or they were able to just stay calm and do the right things and kind of help carry you through because they weren't freaked out. And that's kind of what this faith that we have in God, this life as a Christian, that's what it's all about. That we come up against things sometimes that are crazy to us, but they're not to him, and he can carry us through. And so maintaining a Christian perspective of the world around us is the complete opposite of crazy. It is actually the only thing that makes sense in a time like this. And I know that if you, like me, you watch the news, you see there's so much debate right now about what the severity is of what is actually going on. You know, you look at one news channel and they say, "Oh my goodness, the world is coming to an end." And then you turn the channel just a couple over and there's another news channel and they say, "It's no big deal. Just, take a nap and everything will be fine." And I think that, I'm not a prognosticator. I can't predict the future. I can't tell you exactly what the outcome of this is going to be. And so I can only speak to you all today about the status of our hearts in the midst of it all. And I think that there's really three reactions that we can have as we go through this coronavirus thing that's taking place in our world right now. There's really three reactions that we can have, and there's fear, and there's apathy, or there's faith. And I'll tell you, one of these things will guide your heart and your mind and your actions as we progress through this whole situation. One of those things, fear, apathy, or faith, one of those is going to be the thing that will lead you through these next few weeks or however long this takes. But one of those things, and only one of those things, will really bring true peace. And two of them do not. And so let's look at this. Obviously a natural reaction is fear. And if you look around, fear has turned to panic even in some cases. And so here's the thing. Fear jumps to conclusions, and it lives out this worst case scenario before it ever even happens. And the problem with fear for Christians is that it assumes a totally different conclusion than the one that we know to be reality, that God is ultimately victorious. Fear assumes something different than that. But we know that God is ultimately victorious over everything. And so fear is a natural reaction, but it cannot be allowed to lead us. Fear comes down to the answer of this question right here. Do you really trust God even in uncertain times? Psalm 56, 3-4 says, "When I am afraid, I put my trust in you, in God whose word I praise. In God I trust and am not afraid. What can mere mortals do to me?" And then 1 John 4:18 says this. It says, "There is no fear in love, but perfect love drives out fear, because fear has to do with punishment. The one who fears is not made perfect in love." I love that. Perfect love drives out fear. And what I can tell you is this is talking about something that's already taken place. Perfect love has already cast out fear. When Jesus is hanging on the cross and he says, "It is finished," he says, "It is completed." It's the same word as perfect. And so Jesus' act of dying on the cross, this perfect love, is the love that casts out fear. We don't need to be afraid of anything because of what he has already done. And so fear is a natural response, but also I think one of the things that I've seen a little bit of is apathy, or even maybe another way to call it is ignorance. This idea of I'm just not going to pay attention to what's going on. If I really think about it, it'll scare me. So I'm not going to. I'm just going to let it roll, and I'll I'm not going to pay attention to it. But there's also some danger there. And Proverbs 22:3 says, "The prudent see danger and take refuge, but the simple keep going and they pay the penalty." And so this is not a time for us to bury our heads in the sand, but I think this is the time to proclaim the gospel message even clearer, even louder than maybe the church has been doing. This is the time where the community around us needs the church. I think A.W. Tozer said it best. He said, "A scared world needs a fearless church." And then Ezekiel 33:6 says this, as we think about this idea of just turning our shoulder or turning our eyes to it and being like, "I'm not going to pay attention." Ezekiel says this, "But if the watchman sees the sword coming and does not blow the trumpet to warn the people, and the sword comes and takes someone's life, that person's life will be taken because of their sin. But I will hold the watchmen accountable for their blood." And so there's fear and panic, there's apathy and ignorance, or there's faith. And I've had so many conversations with many of you over the past couple days, and it's actually been really neat to hear some of your reactions that simply say, "God's got this." I've heard that phrase so many times over the past couple days. God's got this. Yeah, you know what? There's some things going on, but ultimately, I know God's got this. And I've heard you all saying that, and that's so encouraging to me. And it's so simple. It almost sounds like a cop-out. I don't have to worry about this anymore. I don't want to worry about this anymore. I'm just going to not think about it, and I'm just going to let God deal with it. But I'm telling you this, it's not a cop-out. It's actually the only thing that can keep us from worry. No lie, if I didn't have my faith in God, I would probably be worried. I'd probably be worried about a lot of things. But I don't have to, because I know God has got this. God's got this. Isaiah 26:1-4 says, "In that day this song will be sung in the land of Judah. We have a strong city. God makes salvation its walls and ramparts. Open the gates that the righteous nation may enter, the nation that keeps faith. You will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast because they trust in you. Trust in the Lord forever, for the Lord himself is the rock eternal." And so all of this to say that as a Christian, and when we look around and we see so many different reactions to what's taking place in the world, how do we maintain this Christian perspective? And that's kind of the idea. We're going through the series of majoring in the minors, and we're looking at the minor prophets. But all of the prophets, whether it's the minor prophets or the major prophets, all of them are sent to bring about a proper perspective from God's people. Their perspective has gotten off, and he's calling them back to him. Jonah, in fact, preached this very short sermon in Nineveh to the Assyrians. He goes to the capital of Assyria in Nineveh, and he preaches this little tiny sermon. It says, 40 more days, and Nineveh will be overthrown. And it doesn't sound very encouraging, but it was enough. It was enough even for the Assyrians to turn their hearts toward God and see the world with his perspective. And I think perspective for us, especially in a time like this, perspective is this: we are eternal. Our souls are eternal, but this world is temporary. The suffering is temporary. The chaos is temporary. The fear is temporary. The pain, all of it is temporary. And so how do we continue to see this current situation with a Christian perspective? I think it's with two things, and I think it's wisdom and it's faith. Wisdom. Can I just tell you this? Listen to the ones who are appointed over us to keep us safe. And I know that it may be hard, but the chances are They may know more than you do. And so just trust them. Let's just trust them through this process. Let's trust that God is working through them in this process. And don't assume that because God loves you, that you are immune to sickness. I don't want you to think that you could just have this idea of, well, God's got it, so I don't need to wash my hands. Wash your hands. Wash your hands. And remember that your soul is the only thing about you that is eternal. Our bodies are absolutely subject to decay. And so we need to be wise as we go through this situation. We need to listen to people. We need to follow recommendations. And we need to do everything that we can to keep ourselves safe. We need to be wise, but never let your wisdom outweigh your faith. Proverbs 3:5-6 says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight. And so I just want you to remember, this is not bigger than God. He is still the anchor and the protector of your soul. And so never lose sight of that. Never lose sight of that. And I just want to read Psalm 91 to you. And so if you have a Bible, it would be great if you would open it up, Psalm 91, follow along with me. And I'd also like to encourage you guys, just keep reading this throughout this week as we plan to get together for next week, and hopefully we can be together. I just want you guys to kind of focus, pray through this prayer, the Psalm of 91, and I'll read it. It says this: whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, he is my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. Surely he will save you from the fowler's snare and from the deadly pestilence. He will cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness will be your shield and rampart. You will not fear the terror of night, nor the arrow that flies by day, nor the pestilence that stalks in the darkness, nor the plague that destroys at midday. 1,000 may fall at your side, 10,000 at your right hand, but it will not come near you. You will only observe with your eyes and see the punishment of the wicked. If you say, the Lord is my refuge, and you make the Most High your dwelling, no harm will overtake you, no disaster will come near your tent, for he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. They will lift you up in their hands so that you will not strike your foot against a stone. You will tread on the lion and the cobra. You will trample the great lion and the serpent. Because he loves me, says the Lord, I will rescue him. I will protect him, for he acknowledges my name. He will call on me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. With long life, I will satisfy him and show him my salvation. Y'all, that's my prayer. That's I hope your prayer as we go through these next couple weeks. And just so you know, we're going to be in communication as much as we can about what's taking place at Celebration. We're putting together plans. Hopefully we can meet together next week. As long as that is safe and as long as it's the wise thing to do, we want to be together. And if that's not the case, then we'll have something else in place so that we can live stream a sermon, or we could do something to keep you all together, to keep you informed, and to keep you being the church. Remember to look out for people. If you see neighbors that are struggling, if you yourself are struggling, let us know. Our desire is to live in love like Jesus, and so we want to help out. We want to be those hands and feet, and we want to do whatever we can in this crazy time. Trust God, have wisdom, and have faith, and know that God has got this.